clutches 5'6".
Today's breakdown is going to be on a police interaction of Katie Wright and the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota Police Department. Katie Wright is the mother of Dante Wright, and in April of 2021, Dante Wright was killed by Brooklyn Center, Minnesota police officer Kim Potter.
I don't want to be on that camera over there. So she recording over there. I don't want my face on camera. Because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Have a seat.
So the individual who's being arrested tells the police officer that he doesn't want his face on camera. However, he's in public, so there is no expectation of privacy. Also, he's being recorded by the police officer. Police officers in this jurisdiction have body cameras, so whether this individual likes it or not, he is being recorded by police officers. The police officer is walking over to an individual who is parked on the shoulder and is recording with a cell phone. As the officer was walking over there, he says she's getting a ticket. At this point, the officer hasn't made contact with her, doesn't know if she needs help, really doesn't know what the situation is, but already before that, he's indicating that there's going to be enforcement action taken.
She's getting a ticket. No, don't worry about it. Come on. You can see 66 at it.
So the officer makes contact with who he later finds out is Katie Wright. The officer does a couple things that are not correct, not within policy and not within law. The first thing the officer does is he demands identification from the woman. At this point, the woman hasn't committed any crime. There's no reasonable suspicion or probable cause that any law has been broken. So she refuses to give her identification, which is correct. Citizens actually have no obligation to provide police officers with identification, and unless they've committed a crime, and police officers cannot compel individuals to give their ID unless they have committed a crime. The police officer makes contact with the woman, who he later finds out is Katie Wright. At this point, all he knows is that she was recording a police interaction from across the road. At this point, he asks for her driver's license, and he tells her that he's going to arrest her for obstructing if she doesn't produce it. However, she doesn't produce the driver's license, and she's correct to not do so. Citizens do not have any obligation to provide police officers with their identification unless there is reasonable suspicion that they have committed a crime. When Katie doesn't provide her identification to the police officer, he doesn't give her any commands to step out of the car. He doesn't ask her to step out of the car. However, he grabs her wrist and he escorts her out of the vehicle. He also grabs her cell phone. So he takes her personal property and he puts it on the hood of the car. The officer does this without any reasonable suspicion or probable cause that a crime has been committed. So the police officer has already told Katie that she will be arrested for obstructing if she doesn't provide a driver's license. And Katie did the right thing by not resisting the police officer when he escorted her out of the vehicle. During this interaction, Katie does inform the police officer who she is. She says, "You killed my son," and she lets the police officer know that she is Dante Wright's mother.
My name is Katie Wright, and you guys killed my son, and I'm going to videotape it. And if you take me to jail, I will sue you.
So once Katie lets the police officer know who she is, there is a shift in the attitude of the police officer. So instead of taking Katie to jail, he starts to walk away, and he says that he's going to send her a ticket in the mail. So as the officer is walking back to his car, he tells his buddies that he's going to issue a criminal summons for Katie. However, if we look legally at what Katie did, there is no reasonable suspicion or probable cause that a crime has been committed. And if we look at this case objectively, there's way more of a chance that the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl than Katie being charged with any criminal infraction.